Good evening, everybody. My name is John Misick. I'm the opinion editor for Penn Live and the Patriot News. Thank you very much for coming out to our community conversation as part of our ongoing project, Harrisburg Next. So why Harrisburg Next? Well, with the advent of the recovery plan, the election of a new mayor and a new administration, we as a news organization felt it was time to start looking for ways to move Harrisburg forward. I mean, we're all here, and you're here for a common purpose. We love the city. We want to see it prosper. We want to see it succeed. We want to see it put its past behind it. And by your being here this evening, you are part of that effort, and you're part of that conversation. For the purposes of our discussion here, we're going to be focusing more narrowly on government services, plowing the streets, getting potholes fixed, trash collection, leaf collection, street lights, that kind of thing. Matt Zenzi, my deputy editor, will be walking around with question cards. So this will be just like one of those National Press Club lunches, if you've ever seen it. Put your question on a card, hand it over to Matt. Matt will answer the question. He'll direct it to one of our panelists. Did anyone not get, all right, we'll hand those around. Matt will ask the questions. And this actually serves two purposes. It will keep the conversation moving, and we can sort of group together common themed questions, because inevitably in these sorts of settings, there are more threads of conversation emerge. So we'll begin by introducing our panelists this evening. To my left, City Councilwoman Eugenia Smith, Mayor Eric Papenfuse, Chief Thomas Carter, Public Works Director Aaron Johnson, and at the far end of the table, Matt? At the far end of the table we have, I'm sorry, City Council Member Sandra Reed. All right, pardon me, I'm still learning faces. All right, with that in mind, I guess we'll get this conversation started. Matt, are you ready to go?
Almost ready. I guess I should not.
Yes, please.
Okay, well, as you might imagine, snow removal is a huge issue. So this will probably go to Aaron Johnson and to Mayor Papenfuse. You guys can wrestle among yourselves how you would like it to be answered. But could you address just generally how snow removal is going? And in particular, we have a situation up on, let's see if I can find the location. Yes, Wilson and Taylor Park, Rumson Drive was the one specific location that we got a question about, but there are a number of comments and questions that we've had about snow removal. In particular, the question of where cars are parked and whether we should have alternate side of the street type of situation so the snow can be removed curb to curb. So those are the overview of snow removal, specifically curb to curb issue, and then the specific site, Wilson, Taylor Park, Rumson Drive area. If you're having any specific problems up there, it'd be good to know about. And we do ask that you hold your answers to 90 seconds, and we have a timing lady there that will help us move things along. Thank you.
How about I start, and then I'll pass it to you, Aaron. Okay. With regard to the question of alternate side parking, one of the things that I've been doing is reviewing ordinances in other cities throughout the country. I do think that type of an ordinance might make sense for Harrisburg. Obviously, it's a conversation we'll have to have with City Council, but the concept would be basically, if it were to snow on an, on an even day of the week, you would move your cars from the even side of the street. On an odd day of the week, you'd move your cars from the odd side of the street. This would be something in addition to what we do on snow emergency routes. It's not something that we currently have in place in Harrisburg, but I think it's an idea that we should look at. So, Matt, I think your thoughts were good. We did declare a snow emergency. I think generally speaking, it worked very well. We took a middle ground approach this time. Since there hadn't been a snow emergency for, I think, over 4 years in Harrisburg, we decided we would ticket but not tow. Just because there are a lot of individuals that really weren't sure of the rules regarding snow emergencies, and both our police and our fire took the time to go door to door trying to educate people. But next time we will tow. And I think we hit the right. I think we did the right sort of middle ground approach for this, our first snow emergency. If we can get cooperation on moving the cars, and if we can look at something like an alternate side ordinance for the future, I think it'll make it easier to plow the streets curb to curb. We also have to work out our relationship with PennDOT a little differently. Some of the streets which didn't get plowed curb to curb were PennDOT roads, and that shouldn't have happened, and we're going to have to do a better job of coordinating. Already reached out to them to talk about it for the next snowstorm. But Aaron, do you want to add to that?
Okay, the question was how do I feel how snow removal is going? I'm gonna have to say I think we're doing a remarkable job with the manpower that we have. I mean, we have challenges out there. We've been spoiled with snow. We haven't had snow like this in about 5 or 6 years. That ice storm, you know, and what I want to let the residents know, that ice is a totally different animal than snow. When that ice storm came, there's really nothing you can do when that ice hits. Normally we go curb to curb. When we just have regular snow, it's not an issue. But when that ice hit, and we couldn't stay on top of it, so you got like about 6 inches of ice by the curbs, and right now we have to take our loaders and actually take the bucket and actually break it up. So that's a slow process. You know, we've been very accessible to everyone who calls me. We went out there and done several streets. I know I get plenty of phone calls, you know, try to prioritize them and get to you as best I can. And as far as snow removal right now, we do it basically by street cleaning, you know. That's the only way we can do it because parking is an issue. Penn Street, that's the first one to come to my mind. Penn Street is a very narrow street. Our plows is longer than Penn Street. When you got cars parked, we cannot come down the street. It's not that we don't want to provide the service, we'll tear your car up. You know, we're trying to minimize tearing your mirrors off your car. So when you have 3 cars parked there, we can't come down the street. Zarka Street's another one. We can go down Zarka, but we can't get out because cars down at the end, they parked in the street. So if we go down, we can't back up the hill on the 1800 block of Zarka Street. So we need your cooperation. You know, some neighbors are very good at, you know, telling their neighbors to move the cars. We come back the next day. So like I said, we have no problem with assisting anyone, but the cooperation has to be there as far as you want curb to curb. Right now, you have a lot of ice and stuff. So when we go to these street cleaning areas, you know, it takes us a while now because we have to break up the ice and remove it. But with the mayor, you know, we have to monitor that overtime. You know, we've been working some hard, long hours. Our guys been working 16 hours, and then you got to lay them down for 8. But you know, I think they're doing the best job they possibly can do. And again, you know, there's always room for improvement. And like I said, I'm very proud of our guys with what we're working with because we have old equipment. You know, keeping that on the road is a challenge. So, you know, the things that you don't see behind the scenes, you know, that keeps us from getting to you, those are some of the challenges that we face.
Chief, anything from a public safety perspective, anything more than the usual number of fender benders on account of the slippery conditions or CO issues in people's homes that you had to respond to? Anything that comes to mind?
No.
Okay, perfect. That was easy. Next round of questions.
All right. This will be a follow-up to that, and then after we get the answer back, we'll give Sandra Reed a chance to comment. She's chairing the Public Works Committee of the Harrisburg City Council and has in the past, so she has quite a bit of history and perspective on these matters that we'll get her to share as well. The follow-up question would be, we're going to have, I guess, what you'd call breakup when, you know, the river ice goes out and the ice goes out in the streets and the drains may or may not be clear from the leaves that fell in the fall. And how is the drainage going to work? Or is there a specific plan for dealing with that, or we hope that it's just kind of disappear into the atmosphere and keep our fingers crossed?
I'm happy to start. Well, there's sort of 2 issues. One, there's the need to keep the storm drains clear and free of ice, and that's something that, I mean, Aaron can talk more about, but Public Works is actively out trying to work on as we speak. And then there's the larger issue of whether or not we will get a major flooding event. And it's really too early to tell. There are no predictions up to this point that the Susquehanna is going to flood, but we are prepared. In fact, we've called a emergency operations meeting for this week to discuss flood protocol and flood procedure. We're doing that with the county. The fire chief is helping organizing that and taking the lead from a city perspective. So both in terms of flooding of individual streets and a wider spread flooding in general, we are actively out. Do you have anything, Aaron, you want to add about storm drains?
Yes. I know when, born and raised there, so I know when I was a young man, we used to get out there and, clear the inlets ourselves. I mean, the residents can help out just as well as, Public Works, because it's going to take everybody effort when we have this type of, these storms like this. But tomorrow, you'll see us out there full force, like we was actually going to do it today, but it snowed on us 2 o'clock this morning. We was out since 2 o'clock this morning when the snow came, so that was something that we wasn't anticipating, even though they said it was coming. I was hoping that it didn't come because it said midnight, but it started at 2. But we was planning on starting the snow removal today. So tomorrow we'll be out there full force in the street cleaning areas, like I said, starting to remove the snow, taking over City Island, and also going around cleaning out the inlets. It's very important, especially the flood areas, that we basically know which areas that flood. McClay Street, North 18th and Dairy. I mean, I can go on and on with the areas that we know that basically floods because of the creeks, but you'll see us out there full force. Again, like I said, if most of y'all have my phone number, I mean, it's on the website. I'm very accessible. Like I said, that's my job. So we're there if you need our help. We've been out there getting people, got stuck and things like that. We've been out there, we've been out there. But it's important to keep them inlets clean. It's very, very important. I can't emphasize enough on that.
Well, and I would like to mention that I believe it's Chief Enterline sent out a tweet thanking people for clearing hydrants. The fire crews, I guess, will come by afterwards and make sure that they're clean to specs. But at least having the preliminary work done by the people who live around them, he was very appreciative of that. And it's an example of what Aaron Johnson is talking about. How we can't always be looking to the city to do things for us. We have a role as well. One of the things that people need to keep in mind is you do have an obligation to clear your own sidewalk I'm not sure, within how long after it snows is the requirement?
Yeah, it's 24 hours, and again, we did issue warnings, especially around school zones this past time, and we'll be looking to ramp up enforcement on that as well.
Okay.
Can I say as well, a couple other very positive things about this last snow experience. We did find great cooperation with Standard Parking. They were very flexible in working with us. They kept the garages open late. They allowed residents to stay longer than originally planned as the storm progressed. I was told that a larger number of people parked in the garage than ever before, which is saying something, and they had greater capacity. So to the extent that we need more cars to be moved in the future, we have the spaces in the garage. We also worked out for the first time an arrangement with the farm show, which I think is something that we'll be able to keep in place for future snow events where they allowed parking there as well. So those were positive things. And another thing that we did also sort of behind the scenes is we brought in some reinforcements for Public Works, got extra plows out on the streets when we needed them. And all in all, I think Harrisburg really did a tremendous job, and the community came together very positively.
Mm-hmm. Sandra, would you like to share any thoughts or perspective you have on the snow removal situation, and if there are any unmet needs that council is concerned about?
Well, the unmet needs, I'm always an advocate for the president, and there is legislation on the books that, unfortunately, legislation is only as good as enforcement, that during the reason why we used to plow, we used to have street cleaning only for 8 months, 6 months of the year, and we went all year round. So the street cleaning, in effect, in the wintertime is designed so that if it does snow, like we had a snow event this last week, you need to move your vehicles to the other side of the street and abide to those ordinances. I know even on my block, the plows came up during street cleaning to actually clean the other side of the street, but there were vehicles parked over there, so that precluded them from getting all the way to the curb. So the ordinances are actually in place for them to actually do the job. It's just us knowing exactly what the ordinances are. Maybe it's because we haven't had a significant snow event. And it is very important for the residents to get out and help with the snow removal as far as your inlets, your drains, your fire hydrants. Those are all public safety issues, making sure that we're doing our fiduciary responsibility and taking care of that. Also, we are a neighbor's keeper. So if your neighbor is not able to get out and plow out their snow or shovel their snow or their sidewalk, then just because that house is vacant next to you doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be shoveled. So, you know, us all working together is going to make a big impact and have a big impact in the future.
All right, well, thank you very much. We'll shift gears a little bit at this point. We do have the Chief of Police here, and we do have a number of concerns and questions about crime in general, and in particular, questions about will there be more patrols on the streets? So I think this relates to the idea that the mayor has talked about of trying to implement what you would call real community policing, where officers are in much closer touch with the community. This is a chance to talk about that, let people know what's coming. And I guess one question would be, one very specific question was, is there any thought of having some sort of comprehensive consultant study that would guide the process of manning or staffing the police department and how the officers are deployed? Is it something that you think you already know enough about, or is it something you need some outside perspective on as you implement the plan?
We have been doing that study, and I'm happy to say to the public that things are getting better. I have 136 sworn officers. Out of those 136 sworn officers, we have done foot patrol. The mayor had pledged that we'll be out there walking. We're going to be more visible. That has taken place. We have over 800 man-hours of police officers out there walking through the neighborhoods, meeting the public, doing business checks. And each time they're out there walking, they call it in, so there is a dispatch log of it, so that these are actual figures. They're out there not only walking, they're out there talking to neighbors. Things are getting so good that we are getting phone calls from the general public letting us know where the problem areas are, the drug houses, who's doing what. I have gotten numerous telephone calls from Harrisburg residents. I pass it on to my supervisors. We go and we raid these places. We've arrested, last month we arrested 91 people. 91 people were arrested for felony crimes. Most of the charges, 60% of the charges were felony drug charges. These are all felony charges. Now, the numbers are actually higher than 91, but I'm talking about the felony charges. There's 91 people arrested for felony charges, with 12 juveniles. The rest were adults, and the majority of them were felony drug charges. We have gotten 13 firearms off the street so far this year. As far as the districts, we are doing our own study. We have 7 districts in the city. We're cutting them down to 9 districts. Our District 5, which is the Allison Hills section, we're going to make that 2 districts, and we're going to make District 2, which is the uptown, into 2 smaller districts. So that brings the total to 9 districts, and so that we can patrol those areas better, have a more closer watch on what is going on there, and there'll be more police officers in our troubled areas.
Okay, appreciate that. Mr. Mayor?
Can I jump in and just echo what the chief has said? It's not only that the officers are actually now out walking the beat and being required to do that, but they're also being required to report back on their interactions, and they're being held accountable, which is really quite a change. And I think it's also important for the public to know that as we bring more officers on board, we're going to be able to do even more community policing. The 8 officers that were sworn in just a few weeks ago are still undergoing their training. They really haven't yet been put out on the streets. That's going to be 8 more officers. We anticipate hiring another 12 officers, or as many as we can, in the next class. This is going to make a measurable impact throughout the whole city of Harrisburg, so there's more to come. But those hours and that commitment is with the force that we have already, and not the force that we're going to have here as time progresses.
Okay, very good. Eugenia Smith, would you like to add any perspective based on your perch there on City Council and keeping an eye on the crime issues?
Well, one of the things I can say is that I frequently speak with the officers when I see them, both on the firefighters and the police officers. And one of the things that I can say is that I believe the morale has changed within the department. I see the police officers smiling more, and they are really excited about engaging. And I think the chief should have elaborated a little more on that. The police officers actually go out and have a personal contact, even with our young children. I've seen the police cruisers over in the Hall Manor area. I've seen the officers going in and out of the Boys and Girls Club, and I think that that's a wonderful thing that our children will have an opportunity now to engage with police officers more on a personal level. They go in while the kids are playing or doing something, and they engage in the activities that the kids are doing, and they come back out. So I think that that's a wonderful thing. But I also did want to comment on the snow removal. While nothing is perfect in this world, I mean, we can strive for perfection. But I can say that I have gotten a lot of compliments from the residents about how well they thought the streets were done, even the secondary streets. So I did want to add that to my comments as well.
Chief, do you want to talk about the school zones and some of the other areas where you've been making a real effort to be out in the community?
Yes, we have officers dedicated to going into the schools, engaging the people, the students. Right now, we're in conversation with the school district about doing training on shooters in the school. You know, what their responsibilities are, what the police responsibility is. We have training set up for March. We just have a whole new mindset on doing things, you know, how things should be done here. We want to bring back the city school systems. We want to fix the blight problem here. We think that it's horrible that when a child walks outside, the first thing they see is trash. You know, that sort of, you know, tears them down. The police we're going to start enforcing city ordinances on trash. If you're a grown-up, if you're walking down the street dropping trash, you're going to be charged. If you're driving down the street throwing cigarette butts out the car, you're going to be charged. It is no reason, no need for grown-ups to be setting examples for kids like that. We cannot have that. It's been going on so long, and we're going to use our city ordinances to enforce those laws.
All right, we're going to pause for just 1 second. We are streaming these proceedings on our website, pennlive.com. So if you are watching at home on your laptop or tablet or mobile phone or NSA-sanctioned satellite uplink, you can tweet your questions to hashtag HBGNext, or you can email your questions to hbgnext@pennlive.com. And the chief brings up an excellent point. It's a nice way to transition to the next part of this conversation. Mr. Mayor, when you were elected and when you were running, you were talking a lot about a holistic approach toward tackling blight, bringing code enforcement under the aegis of sort of a broader public safety office. Can you talk about where those efforts stand right now, and then we can talk, I guess, with the chief and the council members about that, you know, the effort to tackle blight in the community.
Yeah, thank you. And that's a top priority and something we're very much committed to. The first step in that was to put codes within public safety. And that's been done with the approval of the budget. We have done that. We also approved in the budget 2 new codes enforcement officers. They will be hired promptly, and they'll be on the street. Some of the things that we've been discussing and that I talked about during the campaign, which I think are very, very doable, is the reinstituting of a housing court for Harrisburg. I think that would go a long way to making sure that you had even enforcement in the city and real meaningful enforcement. I've also talked to the chief and the codes director about increasing the number of misdemeanor charges for things such as creating a public nuisance or reckless endangerment. the idea of bringing some of these charges to the level of misdemeanors was also contemplated as part of the reorganization of public safety and codes within public safety. We're also talking about doing very soon a series of warrant sweeps in conjunction with codes, the police officers, and the constables. In many cases, we know who the largest offenders are. We know where they live, and it's simply a matter of going out and basically getting them. And I think you'll see regular warrant sweeps being initiated first with codes and then going through the police department and then out to the constables. We've also talked, and now we have a new economic development department, which is very exciting, but taking a new comprehensive approach to demolition in the city. You're going to see an actual demolition task force that is going to work with the redevelopment authority, work with various city entities to make sure that the dollars that we do have dedicated to demolition are really being employed in the best manner, in the most strategic manner we can. And we do have, I just checked before coming out here, over $400,000 already in the budget for demolition for this year, and there's the opportunity for more of that as we look at our CDBG funds. So those are just some of the things that are going on, and I will turn it to the rest of the panel.
Mayor, before we
Yeah.
move forward, how many properties does $400,000 get you?
Well, $400,000 would be the minimum. That would be the start, depending on the costs, I guess you could figure between $50,000 and $90,000, I think, for a standard demolition, and so there you can do the math. Not that many, certainly not as much as the need, but that's why we need to be strategic about which properties we're demolishing. Where can demolition have the greatest effect on a neighborhood? But also there are more funds that can be dedicated towards demolition. So I think that's going to be a priority as we move through the process this year and we look to allocate our funding.
For our council members, any neighborhoods or sections of the city that are being brought up to you specifically as areas that need attention for blight problems or blight issues?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there's the Allison Hill area is really in need of making sure that the people and the residents understand that their area is not a dump and that we don't look at it as a dump. However, there is a fiduciary responsibility there that if you don't clean up around your own backyard and put your trash in trash cans and don't make sure that you're recycling and doing the behaviors that you need to do to keep the trash off the streets, it's going to continue to look like that. So Allison Hill area is really not the entire Hill area. I live in Allison Hill, and I've campaign against trash because it really does have an impact on your psyche. And when children walk past trash, playing alleys that are overrun with trash and dumped on, it does have a tremendous impact. And when you don't have trash cans, the rodents, the squirrels, the cats, the rats, everybody gets into those trash cans. And it has a greater impact is that once that trash gets out there and it starts blowing all over the place, then it gets commingled in our leaves. We cannot properly do leaf collection. It gets into our wastewater. It gets into our runoff. So there's so many other impacts that have an effect when people don't do the basics, which is properly put your trash away and minimize your trash by recycling. The mayor was looking for a number for how many demolitions it would be. It's 22 demolitions for about $400,000. That's what we demolished last year. That was about the number that we demolished the year before. It's part of it is demolishing old vacant buildings, but the other part is making sure that if you live in a house and you're not keeping up your own house and you're not following the ordinances, I'm looking forward to seeing some support from the mayor's office in enforcing some of the regulations and codes. I've changed just about every trash enforcement trash code out there to tweak it to make sure that it's in plain language so that people know that these are the responsibilities that we expect, and hopefully we can get people to do those responsibilities. We don't want to make it a police state. However, in order for the quality of life to come up in some of these neighborhoods, we're going to have to make sure that the enforcement piece is done. Thank you.
Chief Carter, is there a role for law enforcement in this?
Yeah, yes, there is. I just want to say that back when I was a younger man, many, many years ago, I used to walk on the hill, and on 17th Street, you see some of the prettiest mansions. Years ago, that's where some of the politicians lived out here. Now you go out there, and it looks horrible, and it's up to us to bring the city back. You know, blight is one thing, you know, but we got to have pride too. I can't stand slumlords. We are going to get on these warrants. We have formed a partnership with the constables. There's going to be warrant sweeps. We're going to pick up the people who own these properties. We're going to take them to housing court, and then it'll be up to the district justices and to the county court system to do with them what they want to do with them. But hopefully, you know, they will see in the city's favor, in our favor, and make them responsible for their rundown properties. You know, weed and seed. We're going to weed out there, and we're going to also plant the seed out there, you know, so we can make this here, make Harrisburg the capital city once again, a great place to live, a great place to raise kids, and just a lovely city. So yes, we are going to do our jobs. Thank you.
Are there any specific challenges, Mayor or Chief, you can tackle this in tracking down the out-of-town landlords, those, you know, those who may own properties in the city but don't live here, but are, you know, are owners of blighted property? Are there specific challenges there?
Yes, there are, because usually what happens, you know, the people who owns properties and they live out of the city, you know, those properties change hands numerous times. You know, if one homeowner believes that we're on to them, you know, we're after them with warrants, you know, they'll sell the property to someone else. And so 1 month the owner lives up in Jersey, the next month they're down in Florida. You know, so it's a task for us to find these people, then it's a bigger task for us to bring them back here to face charges. Now, these are not felony charges, and so we don't have the teeth to reach out to extradite them back or anything like that. But I'm sure that if we can have the court system understand, you know, that they're abandoning these their properties, they're only using them as tax write-offs, and that we should take these properties from them.
And I think that there's more that we can do legally to take the properties away from many of these repeat absentee out-of-town landlords. Talked a little bit about the Conservatorship Act and what it might mean for Harrisburg on the campaign. We've been looking into that. There is, you know, there are expenses involved, but it is definitely a tool that can be used. And while there are many landlords that are out of town that are in violation, there are many others that actually we know where they live. They live in Harrisburg. They're repeat offenders, and it's about time we go and get them.
Mr. Johnson, sure.
Yeah. The other challenge I see now, up on Seneca Street, bamboo. I don't know if you took notice that a lot of people have been growing bamboo, and with this inclement weather, with that heavy ice that was on it, I mean, it's laying all in the street. I mean, you can't even get down. I mean, it's a hazard. You know, emergency vehicles can't even get down there. I mean, I know a couple of places. We definitely gonna have to get that enforcement piece. That's very important, because you know, these people think they can do what they want to do, and for me on the public works side, you're going back to the same places every other week, and it's some community people that's out there that do a good job as far as trying to keep the area clean by having community cleanups and everything like that. But they get frustrated too, because they calling me every other week cleaning the same area. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I just say some of the residents, I know you don't want to get involved, but sometimes you have to get involved if you want things to change, because if you don't do anything, you're going to keep on getting the same results. And I'm telling you, I mean, we got pictures and everything. It's the same areas. And, you know, and some of y'all keep your neighborhood so nice, but you have a few bad apples that you try to, you know, hold accountable, and then it becomes a, you know, a domestic thing, you know, arguments, and you got to call, you know, the law in. But, you know, I'm glad that we're going to do something finally as far as with, you know, with the police getting involved, because, again, everybody asks me about giving them a citation. I can't give them a citation, you know. That's not my area, you know, but definitely, you know, what we're talking about now, it's going to make a difference, because I wish they can go to jail about 6 months at least, you know. I'm just telling you, because I see it front, you know, I see it up front and close, and it doesn't make any sense, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, I never seen in my entire life this many mattresses. I mean, it's like a mattress sale out there. When you're going out there, you know, to pick up mattresses, when people put their one mattress out there, but then you'll go down the street, there'll be about 20 mattresses sitting there. And then now with the recycling, with the appliances, I don't know if you ever took notice, you'll see them TVs be cracked open because they'll try to get that copper out of them and everything. But now we can't put them in the trash truck. See, I don't think a lot of residents know we can't do that anymore. You actually have to take them down there to Dauphin County Recycling Center. You know, we can't put them in the packer. So you'll see, that's why you see a lot of them television, all them appliances sitting around. And I don't know when the state came up with that law, they didn't give it a good, they really didn't, consider what it was going to cause. And I mean, like, between the mattresses and appliances, it's terrible. So I'm glad we're getting this, this enforcement piece.
Okay.
I just wanted to add one thing on the ordinances. The chief was talking about the out-of-town landlords. City council had passed the ordinance 3 years ago that prohibited any new landlords from living more than 50 miles outside of the city without having a property manager within that radius. So we can try to help eliminate those problems where we have people that buy a house in Texas, Georgia, or wherever, and then just leave them vacant. So we're trying to work with the ordinances, and if we have to tweak them, then I'm certain that our colleagues will be able to get together and maybe tweak them just a little bit more. But that is an ordinance that that was passed 3 years ago.
I just wanted to say I agree with that, and I wanted to thank City Council because this was an area where there was complete agreement between the administration and council. The shift of moving codes into public safety really officially only happened last week with the passage of the budget, and I will be signing that budget here in the next 48 hours or so. And while they've been meeting, this is really a historic moment. This is the first time where you have the Director of Codes answering to the police chief in daily conversation with the police chief. We've done everything that we could to try and facilitate that conversation, and I think we're all in agreement that that's what Harrisburg needs to do.
Great. All right, well, I look down at this pile of papers in front of me, and I shuffle through it, and I see one word, or maybe two words, depending on your perspective, popping up again and again and again, and that's potholes. Potholes, potholes, potholes. I think every one of us has jarred a rib cage or something driving down the streets, and I guess, Mr. Johnson, this one's all you. Where are the trouble spots, and what are we doing to clean these up?
Potholes. Well, I was looking on the news. Lancaster was talking about the potholes. I was kind of glad somebody else was talking about potholes, so it's not just Harrisburg. But speaking on the potholes, it's not a priority, but it is a priority because, I mean, if the mayor talked about the state coming up with that $2 million, and we have some areas that we have prioritized that we're going to take care of. But right now with the inclement weather, as soon as it breaks, which temperatures is going up, only thing right now we can cold patch it, but that doesn't last. That doesn't last. We're looking at this piece of equipment that the mayor said that he's going to see if we can purchase it. And Pensy has some new material that might last a little bit longer, but we're well aware of it. And when you call, like right now, I have a list that people have been calling about the potholes, but right now it's just always been snow removal and plowing right now. But some of the places really need paving, because we don't have no mill machine, those type of things that if we had them, we could actually mill some of the streets because it's, if you go up Hell Avenue, for example, which is on one of the lists, but that needs to be paved. That's, there's too many potholes. North 15th Street by the graveyards, like the 15th and Her, off of 15th and Her, that needs to be paved. So you have areas like that you get calls, and that take us almost a half a day to, to just fill the potholes. That's how bad it is. So we are going to do something about it. So again, the mayor, he said that he was going to, try to purchase this machine. So if that's the case, I think you'll see some difference. I really do. But we are aware of it. And I'm not closing my ear to it. So as soon as this weather break a little bit, you'll see us out there. It only lasted like 2 weeks though. That's the bad part about when you fixing them potholes like that. With this new piece of equipment, I think it'll last a little longer.
Mayor?
Yeah, I'll just say there is some new technology out there for potholes. We've been looking at that. We've been having conversations with other municipalities, again, like Minneapolis, others that deal with snow. There's much more that we can do. It's actually more cost effective, lasts longer, and works better than the sort of traditional patches that we've used in Harrisburg. So we're looking at that. In addition to that, we have some infrastructure money. We have money that was pledged by PennDOT to help us with paving, but we now also have this new siloed infrastructure fund, and I believe the task force is meeting tomorrow, I think, for the first time to set up those funds, but we certainly anticipate being able to hopefully access at least a portion of those funds in the relatively near future for Harrisburg. That was what they were intended to do. So it's a combination of preventatively dealing with potholes, but also strategically thinking about how we do repaving and how we make sure that we do it systematically throughout all the city. Those conversations have already started, and there are funding sources for them that make us not entirely reliant on the general fund.
Yeah, you beat me to the punch on that one. I was going to ask you about the $2 million in recovery fund money, because that does free up, because that covers state and federal roads, that frees you up to work on city-owned streets, right?
That's right, and it's $2 million a year for 5 years. And we're trying to get a little more clarity as well about other options for that funds. Could we use it for equipment? Could we use it for other things? And we're in conversation with PennDOT about it. But the bottom line is, at the very least, it frees up other funds in the city's budget to be able to be used for paving. And again, that is different than the money which is already within the infrastructure trust fund, which is being contemplated to be used, as I say, this year. So 2 sources, an outside PennDOT fund, the infrastructure fund that was part of the Strong Plan. Both of those currently exist, and then we have monies within the Public Works budget as well.
Okay. And actually, Mayor, we're going to keep the microphone in front of you here. The next big question popping up is street light repair and replacement. I know there's a plan in the works there.
Well, this is a top priority as well. It's something that we know. We've looked at a number of different approaches to this. Frankly, I will say that I was planning to put the streetlight project within our new Department of Sustainability, which was not a department which Council chose to fund as part of our overall plan. So now we're going to have to back up and look at exactly who takes the lead on that. And we'll probably have to go within planning, and there are a variety of approaches that we can take here. But there are essentially a whole series of energy companies, all of whom would love to provide Harrisburg the service of helping transform its lights into LED lighting and help us basically conserve energy and conserve electricity. To the extent that we can save money off of that conversion, we can then invest a portion of those savings into the necessary additional upgrades that we have to have. In many cases, we have to purchase entirely new light fixtures, not just the bulbs, because the lights have been knocked down and never replaced. So while the vision for that has now shifted out of a sustainability framework into a larger planning framework, the time frame remains the same. I think the city will be issuing an RFP at some point in the next month or two, and that will allow us to select from a sort of competitive group of bidders.
Okay, appreciate that. Sandra, did you want to add a council perspective on that?
In the meantime, while the mayor's trying to reconfigure his organization. Last year we hired a streetlight foreman, and I think the most prominent problem is a lot of the areas that we're having black street lights out. We were having blocks and blocks and blocks of street lights out. The streetlight foreman is doing an excellent job of ensuring that, you know, he's fine-tuned it so that when he goes out to a light, if you have a street light that's out, if you call the Public Works Department, if you give them the number of the pole, he has it down to a science so that they can actually look at that number on the pole, and they can tell you what type of light it is, what type of bulb it is, and what they need to fix it. And that's efficiency that's going to allow them to, when they go out to repair that light, that they can take everything that they need with them versus going all the way out there, seeing what it is, and then coming back and getting equipment. So our streetlight foreman is doing an excellent job of trying to get the lights on, but he's not everywhere. So again, with the public letting us know where the problems are would be a good help.
Okay.
And
Ms. Smith?
you have to keep in mind that some of our street lights are not the responsibility of the city. Some of them fall under the jurisdiction of PPL as well. So.
And PP&L did recently fix a streetlight that was out on Upper 2nd Street. So, you know, if they're called and nagged, they will respond. On the public safety front, we did have a question. As the departments are staffing up, both the fire department and the police department, what sort of provision is being made for diversity in hiring and making sure that Harrisburg has a police force and a firefighting force that reflects the community it serves?
We are looking at going through training now, diversity training. I believe that the police force should have all walks of life, male, female, white, black, Hispanic, all nationalities here, and that's going to happen. Right now, just recently we hired 3 female officers. We hired a Hispanic officer. We're going to bring the department up to reflect what the real city looks like. We're many different people here, but we are all the same. We are all one. That's how we want this city to be. Diversity training will be given probably in April. We're talking to some different companies right now to get the best price, or we're talking to different companies to get the, we're going to open it up to outside agencies so Harrisburg officers can be trained for free. But I didn't say that though, because other agencies, they just might get mad about that. but that's going to happen soon.
I also want to add that having the Foot Patrol out in the community, we're hoping will inspire our young people to want to grow up and be a police officer. I think that that will be an approach that we will aggressively be trying to seek after. I know that we had a lot of conversation about that on the transition team, and I know that one of the commitments was we even talked about having the police officers more at the high school level, going up to the high school and trying to recruit the young people from the community. So that is not a discussion that started on January the 6th. I know we were talking about it during our transition on the Public Safety Committee.
And I just also just want to add that David Botero, my community policing guy, coordinator, he's doing an excellent job out there. He's bringing back information. He's engaging gang leaders and everybody, and he's changing the culture of the way that the young people are thinking out there. There's going to be a forum out at Harrisburg High School on the 24th and 25th of this month. We're going to have some dynamic speakers out there. I'll be out there speaking, engaging the youth, and right now we have a lot of youth because of what Mr. Botero's out there doing. They want to be police officers, they want to be firefighters, they are interested because he's spreading the word. And we haven't had that in a long time, but he's doing an excellent job out there spreading the word about the opportunities that are in becoming police officers and public safety officers. We're also looking at having a cadet program out at Harrisburg High School. And that'll probably, hopefully, if it can get off the ground, we can get some funding for it probably during the next school year. That'll probably happen.
Mr. Mayor?
I'll just say, I know the fire chief is in the audience, and he feels the same way, but the job opportunities that currently exist within the city of Harrisburg are predominantly in police and fire. These are solid, family-sustaining, good wage-paying, quality jobs, exactly the types of jobs that our community needs. And it is incumbent on us to go out and to publicize that and to encourage people to choose a career in public safety, and I believe both of our chiefs are doing that. I also wanted to say I thought I was impressed with the quality of the last group of 8 cadets that the police chief brought on board. All 8 were veterans. All 8 had advanced degrees. There were more women, I believe, than in any class ever before. All important first steps, but there are a lot of hires to be made, both in police and fire, between now and the end of the year. Do you want to talk, Chief, a little bit about how you would apply for a job or become interested if you were out there listening and wanted?
You have to fill out an application. Naturally, you have to pass a civil service written test and a physical fitness test. The requirements, or you have to have a current PA driver's license, no felony charges, a clean background. At this present time, we do not require any formal education as far as college, but that does help. We do not require any military experience, but that does help. The opportunities are great out here. The training is good. We send you to HAC, to our Public Safety Center, to train for 6 months. You're trained in criminal law, civil law, domestic violence, vehicle code, and your hands-on training with like application of force, physical fitness, firearms training. So we give you everything that you need right there. It's an excellent opportunity. Out of all of the jobs out here, I can honestly say that this is not the highest paying job, but it's a good paying job. And the greatest part about this job is that you're able to help someone. I always get flashbacks, you know, when I get smiles from little kids, they still call me Officer Carter. I'm always Officer Carter to them, you know, and they always talk to me. You know, when I can make a child smile, when I can help somebody, that's my pay right there. I wouldn't trade it for anything else. There are a lot of police agencies out there, state police or federal agencies, but there is nothing to me like being a Harrisburg City police officer.
Well, on that note, I want to drill down very deeply on the law enforcement front. Believe it or not, we have a number of questions that relate to our canine friends and the role that they play here in Harrisburg. They're supposed to have licenses. We have a dog tethering ordinance in the city, and some people are concerned about what's going to happen when all the snow melts. So we have some questions around dogs and how they are being managed here in the city. Can somebody speak to dog licensing and enforcement of the requirements that responsible dog owners are supposed to follow?
Go ahead.
I don't know if people looked at their water bills or not, but there was information in our water bills about the licensing. And I know that we made a lot of concerted efforts to create the legislation where we're monitoring people. So, I mean, it's a new legislation. I think we did it like within the last 3 years. So I would expect that with the weather changing, that we're going to be more aggressive with holding people accountable. You know, some of the treatment that I see of dogs, or some of the things that I've seen, I just don't know how people can feel human doing that to an animal, someone who's obviously can't defend themselves, but certainly you have some avid members on council that are going to do everything we can to support and enforce that legislation.
And there's been a lot that we've been doing behind the scenes to try and prepare for this. One of the things that we've done in working with the Humane Society and other animal rights groups, we have established basically a series of phone numbers which police officers can now call in the event of an animal in need. Historically, the way it's worked in Harrisburg is we have had one animal control officer, and when that animal control officer is not on duty, it's very difficult to address that type of a situation, but that has changed. So now all the officers have a series of numbers for humane animal officers that can come and address this on weekends or in the evening. So that's part of it. We've also been actively enforcing the anti-dog fighting laws. I think there was an important arrest made on that recently, and there's probably a lot more that we can do on that end. Chief, do you want to add?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We did arrest a adult and a juvenile for dog fighting. It's unfortunate that does happen here. I'm a dog lover. I love dogs. I hate to see them being treated nasty. But there's conversation about a task force. We're going to start checking for dog licensing. You know, we see people out walking dogs. We're going to make sure that they have license, and if they don't have license, then they're going to be cited. They're going to be given so many days to go and get their license, and we're going to start taking dogs, you know. Animals should not be treated like that. We're going to do our best to make sure that they're treated right. But that's another conversation that we're having about the dog task force, and that will be happening soon.
All right, very good.
And there's more that we can do from a public information standpoint on dog licensing. We've got a couple of meetings in the works to try and make that information more readily available on the website. I think you'll have an opportunity to see that soon. I will be at Wolfstock this year selling dog licenses. We're gonna make a real push to get the word out and to make sure people understand. I mean, theoretically, it could be a revenue generator for the city. It is something which is really important, and it is mainly about being able to contact the owners of these pets, and to also make sure that all the resources are brought to bear.
Okay, very good. We have a couple of questions that relate to parking, both residential and the new regime that exists with the city's recovery plan. Questions about how parking is enforced in the residential areas, the residential permit only areas, residents losing out to people who shouldn't be parking there because they don't have permits, and then also, just some commentary and concern about the new parking situation, mainly in the downtown area, but some new areas will be expanded in Midtown as well. So if you could address both of those, parking enforcement in residential areas and the changeover that we've seen with parking in the rest of the city.
Okay, well, the first thing to know is that the initial meeting of the Parking Advisory Board is Thursday at 10 a.m.? Okay, Thursday at 10 a.m. It is located at the Crown Plaza. It's open to the public, and everyone is encouraged to come and participate in that meeting. To the extent that you can't make the meeting and you'd like your concerns relayed, then feel free to contact the mayor's office, and although I won't be sitting on the board, I'm going to go to the meeting, and I'm happy to speak out and convey individuals' concerns. I think it's important to view the parking as a work in progress and something which can be modified over time. And it really does require that type of community input and conversation. There's been talk about expanding the advisory board. We will propose on Thursday that the board be expanded to include business interests, community interests, all in favor of that. But the bottom line is we've got to have a sort of larger conversation about where we're going. I've talked to, there weren't too many specifics in your question, but I can talk to some of the issues. I think that the technology exists to really help businesses as a part of this transition. The technology that exists, which allows businesses to alert parkers of their daily special, or to give a discount coupon or anything as a part of the mobile app component, I think is a real plus potentially for businesses, and I know there's been a lot of concern. There's also concern about especially the extended hours on Saturdays. That's the sort of thing that over time, once we have real hard data and we can determine how much revenue is coming in versus how much was projected, these things can be altered. So I don't see anything set in stone. I think this is a learning experience, and I think that Standard is trying to be cooperative, and more to the point, everyone will listen to the public on this issue, because it is our parking system, it's our city, and we have to give everyone the necessary feedback.
Any perspective from either of the council members on the parking, what you're hearing from constituents? Are they saying, yeah, that was fine, or concerns that they want you to address?
Well, one of the things I know we are very cognizant on the residential parking. I plan to have some future meetings in reference to the residential parking, because we know that it's going to have some of the parking has had an adverse effect on the residential parking, and we certainly don't want our residents to be incurring any additional expenses or inconveniences. One of the things that I've been finding myself making it clear to people is the city did not raise the parking rates or the fines downtown. We didn't do that. That is standard parking, and certainly we're hoping that out of the meetings that we have with the task force, that we're going to see some changes. What people have to realize is that all this is new. But as the mayor said, it's not written in stone. And certainly there's parking concerns in all the communities. Matter of fact, I was talking to a neighbor about a parking issue when I left for the meeting. That's how I got held up. There are some people that have 3 cars in their family, you know, and they want to park all 3 cars in front of their door or as close to their door, and so that means that other people are parking further down the street. So certainly, I would ask our residents to be considerate of your neighbors and allow, you know, your neighbors to get a parking space close to their home as well. I mean, some of us, like even me, I go home late at night sometime from my meetings, and I'm always looking around because I have to run up the street a half a block, or you know, or more than that, and I live in a dark street. So I think that we all need to be considerate of our neighbors, especially even with the snow event. I mean, there were some people, like I said, that dug out spaces, 3 cars in front of their house, and other people were parking way up the street. I think we really ought to just look at the parking as a community thing and look at how we can work together as a community. So that's something that I certainly do plan on addressing in this near future.
All right, very good. Aaron, did you want to jump in?
It's a wonder this didn't come up. Handicap signs. You know, when people are deceased, you still got handicap signs up. I think that's something that we need to really get a hold on. I mean, you can go down some of these streets and the whole area is full of handicap signs. And like I said, some people are deceased and some people are utilizing it, you know, and they shouldn't be. You know, some doctors can sign a piece of paper and just give it to them, you know, and they walk better than me and you know, so I wish we can do something about that, but as long as it's legal and binding, there's nothing you can do about that. But I do know quite a few people that have, you know, signs up that, you know, I've been letting the traffic guys know so we can get those down. The other thing, I know Councilwoman Smith just talked about it. You know, when people dig themselves out and they put a chair out there, the streets, you know, even though it's in front of your house, you don't own that parking space. I mean, some people don't understand that, even though you did all the work, but, you know, believe it or not, anybody can park in that space. And a lot of times what happens is it starts a big argument. I mean, common courtesy would say, you know, that, you know, I dug it out. But, you know, some people don't realize that. And same thing like with a handicap sign. If I'm handicapped, I don't have to live there to park in your spot, as long as I got a handicap sticker, you know. You'd be surprised at some of the arguments and some of the calls I get out there on those issues. But I just wanted to say that about those handicap signs. I know that's becoming, you know, an issue with people parking. They know people shouldn't have them up there.
Okay, very good. I did have another question that had come in outside of tonight's forum about enforcement of no parking in front of fire hydrants. It seemed to be a problem that this person felt was being neglected. Any comment on the policy there?
Well, I can tell you, the police officers are now enforcing that a lot more. I've got complaints from 3 of my neighbors that they got parking tickets for parking by the meter. I mean, by the fire hydrant. So I know that since the focus is not downtown anymore, they're coming out in the neighborhoods. So that's one of the complaints that we used to hear a lot and we weren't able to get to. But the officers, I've seen them stop their cruisers and go back and ticket cars with parking meters. So whatever neighborhood you're talking about, we'd like to have that information so we can pass it on to the officers, because they are certainly getting aggressive with that. And I do think that given an emergency, and hopefully we don't have any like that, that parking, that fire hydrant needs to be accessible to our fire department, because they need that to put out the fire. So hopefully if you can pass me that information on, I'll make sure the chief gets it. But that's one of the things that I know that the police department is getting more aggressive with.
Chief Carter, did you want to say more?
That's absolutely right, and I personally like when people block fire hydrants, because that's a $50 ticket, and that's revenue for the city, and if you don't pay within 14 days, and the price keeps going up, you know. So, but I would ask people not to block fire hydrants. It's important to keep those open at all times for our firefighters. It's a horrible thing to be called into a fire, and the fire hydrants blocked. That means that we have to tow people's vehicles, and that's precious time taken away from the firefighters doing their life-saving jobs, that they do. So, please don't do that.
Bottom line, park in front of a fire hydrant and you will be ticketed. Let us know. Reach out to City Hall. We're trying to change the system so it's even easier for you to call City Hall. We're in the process of doing that, and we have a position in the new budget devoted to that. But in the meantime, go ahead, tweet us, send it to us via email, call the general information line, and we take it very seriously.
One of the things I wanted to point out is that there's a lot of talk about, the changes and people are getting tickets and the fines are going up. The things is when government doesn't operate the way it's supposed to, people tend to get lax in what they've been doing. These are the behaviors that the government should have been doing all along, and had the city been doing these behaviors all along, it wouldn't have such a dramatic impact on what you're being affected by now. You shouldn't be, parking in fire hydrants. Yes, we did need to redo something with our parking meters. They need to be looked at. It needs to be revamped. It's not punitive. I want the residents to know it's not punitive. We're not sitting here saying, oh, we're going to get every dollar that we can get out of you. We're just trying to do the behaviors that we should have been doing all along. And sometimes when you have to reset that clock, it's not as easy as we would like it to be. But it's definitely not punitive. Those are the behaviors that we should have been doing all along. So when we say your trash can's lid's not on your trash can and somebody actually gives you a ticket for that, that should have been done in the first place, and you shouldn't be parking in front of fire hydrants.
Very good, thank you. Last question before we open it up to the audience for questions to come up to the mic has to do with sanitation, trash, particularly concerned about the commercial rate structure that the council established a little ways back. And in general, a broader question, I guess, about where we're headed with sanitation. There was talk about privatization, but it kind of went on hold. So if we can drill down a little bit on the trash rate structure and then comment more broadly on where we're headed with sanitation. Is it going to stay a city-provided service, or will it go to privatization?
Councilwoman Reed, do you want to report on your committee meeting of last week?
Well, we had a committee meeting about the sanitation rates. A lot of the businesses were getting zonked with double fines, triple the amount of rates that they were paying before. And the committee meeting that we had, which had a very low turnout, which is very disappointing, because when we have these meetings, it's important that you come out and you give your input and let us know exactly what's going on. I requested several bills, only got 3, to get a good idea as to what was going on, so it wasn't a fair assessment as to what's going on. But the purpose of the meeting was so that we can go back and look at these rates. The mayor was there. He was very interactive to try to figure out how we can work out the solution to the problem. We do have some tentative solutions. It's going to probably a 2-step solution to the problem, because what the rates are, when they did the study, they didn't necessarily have a definitive rate for how Harrisburg picks up their trash. So if you're a business and you have trash cans, you're getting charged at a commercial rate. If you have a business and you're getting your trash picked up 3-4 times a week, then you're getting charged for those 3 or 4 times a week, plus the amount of trash that you're being hauled. So there's a whole lot of different calculations that we have to deal with. So what we were looking with in our committee meeting is trying to figure out how we can tweak the legislation to ease some of the pain that you may or may not be feeling. And I'm not saying that we're overcharging you. The rates may be exactly where they're at, but we're going to take another look at it and really get down to the brass tacks and make sure that we're, doing our responsibility on the government side to make sure that if we're charging you a rate, it is the correct rate for the services that you're being provided.
Yeah.
And as far as the privatization of sanitation, that hasn't been discussed. The mayor and I have, we pretty much hit on it just about every time we talk. He always says we're going to have a conversation, and we're going to have several conversations about the privatization of sanitation. Right now, Harrisburg picks up your trash, and the ordinances that are in effect for Harrisburg picking up your trash are the ordinances that we're going to expect you to adhere by. Once we get into those talks, then the public will be made aware of those talks going forward. We know that there's going to be a lot of different pieces moving, and we're going to look at all of them.
Yeah, I would just add the immediate need for Public Works was to move out of the current facility on the incinerator complex into a new one. We have a proposal before council to do that to a location on Paxton Street. And that location is big enough so that it does not presuppose the privatization of sanitation and gives us some time to really have that conversation. With regard to the commercial trash rates, I'll say a couple things. One of the things we discussed at the committee hearing, which I think is a good thing, is having a sort of alternative minimum for commercial businesses that don't produce a dumpster full of trash. That would solve a lot of the instances of small businesses that maybe are only producing a few bags of trash. Well, right now the minimum has been set at a dumpster, whether or not you use that dumpster or not. So that explains why some rates went up dramatically, even on buildings that were vacant, simply because they were zoned commercial. Also, I think the public needs to be aware that your bill is now currently calculated, if you are a commercial property owner, on basically the size of your dumpster and the number of times per week that the city picks up your trash. So, if you would like to see your bill reduced, right now, if you feel you can reduce the number of pickups over the course of the week or reduce the size of your dumpster, you can immediately come on in to City Hall and get on a new schedule which will reduce your rate. The other issue is that there was recently a study done of all commercial dumpsters in the city of Harrisburg, and more than half of every dumpster in Harrisburg, commercial, is filled with recyclable materials. So if you can increase your recycling, you can also decrease your trash bill, because then you'll have a smaller dumpster. So these are some things that can be done immediately, even while we look at hopefully potentially lowering the rate structure over time.
Okay. Great. We're going to transition to sort of the final part of our program. We have about 30 minutes left to us this evening. So we build tonight as a conversation. So that's the part where we start having it. If there are questions we've not covered, I'd like you to raise your hand. We're doing this because, well, the PCN microphones won't be able to hear you. So you can ask your question. I'll repeat it. Somebody on the panel will answer it, and we'll go from there. So who wants to take first crack in the audience? Ma'am, you in the blue.
This was part of the dog question that was overlooked. As the snow melts, we're going to have even a bigger issue with dog waste. It's bad enough in the summer, but I'm a pedestrian, so I can see where it's melting already. I got to watch where I'm stepping. People think they're buried with snow. They've taken care of the issue.
For the benefit of our PCN viewers at home, what are you going to do about the dog poop?
DNA tracking. Well,
You can handle that, Mayor.
I think the first thing we can do is ask residents to recognize that just simply burying it in the snow is not effective and is going to lead to a larger mess. I think it's just an educational component at this point. But honestly, DNA tracking through dog feces is sort of the future of this, and there is the ability to do that as part of the licensing procedure, so that eventually you can get to the point where you can track to exactly whose dog does it. I'm not saying the city's going to be investing in that technology in the short term, but if you want an answer, that's probably it.
Chief, can I be there when you serve that first warrant? That'll be awesome. All right, who's next?
I just do want to say that is a personal responsibility of the dog owner. You know, I want to throw this out there for someone who's interested in opening a business. Perhaps you can come up with some gadgets that they can keep with them, and they can take their stuff with them.
Sir, you on the side.
First, in keeping with the topic of trash, rubbish, waste, and green, I have I've talked about an idea about how to rid the city of all this thrown away furniture and the thrown away television that you see scattered about the residential areas. And I think it's very unsightly for the city that's busy trying to project a new image. But there's a way to make that furniture and all those mattress discards into a recyclable at the same time give a rather large population or a considerable population that we have of county offenders who are getting out on probation to give them entry-level jobs. Would the city entertain that kind of proposal? Number one. Number two, would there be a consideration for dog parks where, because we have so many vacant lots, strategically located around the city, 4 or 5 dog parks would allow the police law enforcement to continually have a look at who owns dogs, how they're treating them. At the same time, you can deal with the enforcement of the shots, the licensing, and develop a community. And you can teach the kids how to properly train a dog and own a dog. Just a couple of considerations that's been on my mind for a time, and I just wanted to share it.
For the PCN audience, a gentleman here has asked whether or not the city might entertain the idea of dog parks, and he's also offered sort of a unique proposal on the removal of stray furniture and mattresses. Anyone have a shot at that? Aaron? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to answer your first question. We do utilize work release personnel as far as like community cleanups. As far as them getting on our equipment, it becomes an insurance issue. They're not covered on our insurance. I know that the Law Bureau was trying to work on something because, well, we did want to utilize them. And then again, we're union, so we have to keep that in mind, that we just can't hire anybody off the street.
Yeah, my thought was for this to be a nonprofit rather than a city responsibility. To be a nonprofit in close coordination with the city and its renovation act, its
Recovery.
incinerator activities.
Right. I mean, I think it's a good idea because anytime anybody, if you did the crime in the city of Harrisburg, you should work it off in the city of Harrisburg. So, I think it's a good idea. It's just the problem that we have is, liability issue.
I understand. My main concern though is to rid the Allison Hill area and the uptown area of when it comes springtime, you're going to have a lot of folks cleaning up their basements, their garages, the couches and the headboards and all kinds of stuff. As a matter of fact, right there in Third and Munich right now, there's about a 3-bedroom suite. So I'm just saying that it is a way to participate in greening Harrisburg and at the same time allowing our part of our population to become useful back in the community.
I have an answer directly to address that issue that you spoke on about the mattresses and the furniture that's going to come out because spring clean. Council passed the ordinance last year that you can put out 1 bulk item per week. That's 52 items per household a year that you can put out as far as getting rid of your cleaning out your house. So when you change out your bed, you buy a new bedroom set, you buy a new couch, this is the time when you can put that out so that our Public Works Department has been doing an excellent job of picking it up. So that way that decreases the amount of illegal dumping. Now the illegal dumping will go to the chief of police and he will definitely enforce that. But as far as the residents trying to get rid of their items and their couches and their bulk items, we've changed the ordinances so to make it more convenient so that they won't have that prolonged problem.
In terms of the doggy parks, I know my colleague Brad Kaplinsky is a real strong advocate for doggy parks. He had some conversation about coming up with an ordinance or looking at some areas where we could have some doggy parks. So I'm sure that since this topic is coming up again, I will certainly reach out to him and ask him what his thoughts and feelings are on following through with what he started and see what I can do to support that, because I believe that that would minimize some of the problems that we're seeing on the city streets.
Great. Okay, sir.
I talked to a young lady that was a county commissioner last year at the farm show, and she said that would be an idea that the county would definitely like to participate in. That's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we'll keep this moving. Who's next? Question? Right here? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Sheila.
Hi. So first of all, I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity to have you all engage us, our community. I just have a couple of questions. I was sitting here taking some notes. First is one of accountability. I think that we are in accountability. Oh,
Just one.
okay, one question.
Do your best.
No,
Okay.
One question, all right? Watch this. Okay. Okay, this is my preface to the question. We are, I believe in governance accountability, and I think that has been lacking in our city. So when I hear you talk, for example, about recruitment for the police and firefighters and getting people of color, which I think is critically important, what I need to see is a plan. Because that which we think is important is that which we measure. If we don't measure it, in my view, it doesn't exist. I think that goes for not only that, but I also think it goes for when we talk about community policing. I think that is very positive. I think we need to know, as residents, know what the comprehensive overarching plan of the city is around that. And so what I'd like to know is how do we get plans that are on paper that we can see, or or somewhere on a website, so that we can know what's going on. For example, what's the next phase of, and I'm not talking about anything in particular. I think community policing is great, but I think that we need to know what is the plan around whatever the initiative is, because this town, I've lived here 20 years, we might have something on the books, but when it comes to the document underlying that supports the initiative, that's often sort of lacking. That's my one question.
All right, but we can just boil that down really quickly for the PCN audience. Is there, I guess, a plan to post documents or plans online somewhere where residents can easily get to them, or does that exist already, and if so, where?
Well, I want to answer the question in terms of recruiting for the diversity. I don't know if the community is aware that we have a consultant that meets with our chief, who's a very seasoned police chief in a neighboring community. His name is Rob Martin. And certainly he shared with us some of what Susquehanna Township does in terms of recruiting for diversity. And I believe that we're just starting to row our boat, Mrs. Dalford, and I'm sure that Chief Carter will be able to come up with such a document, because some of the things that I was surprised with is that our police department didn't have a mission statement. And certainly that's one of the things that, and I know that that's one of the things that Chief Martin worked with the chief on, and I know that they aggressively talked about the recruitment of diversity, and I know that that is one of the items on the list, and certainly I'm going to follow up with making sure that when they come up with that plan for expanding on the diversity, that we do include that on our website.
Thank you.
Chief, you want to take a crack at that?
Yes, we do have a statement, the mission statement. It is an older mission statement. We're working on a more modern, up-to-date mission statement. Rob Martin, he's here. He's a very good friend of mine, Susquehanna Police Chief for over 17 years. He's my mentor. He's my brother. He's my fellow police officer. I love his guidance because he's a very knowledgeable man. Also, what we're thinking about doing is opening up some of our meetings to the public. So if you have any questions, any concerns, you can come and you can voice those there concerns, so you can see just what's going on. Ms. Davis, she's been talking to us about posting things on the site, the website. We're going to start doing that. So if there's any questions, any concerns, or anything that you want to know about, you'll be able to find it on our website.
Anyone else? All right. Ma'am?
I'm just curious what some of the goals were for the sustainability position, as far as what your plans were, that everything go forward. And aside on that is, do we plan to expand recycling so that cardboard and paper can be recycled?
Plans for the expansion of recycling.
Well, Unfortunately, our plans for sustainability took something of a hit, and actually by eliminating the position, we also eliminated the recycling coordinator position because they had merged into one as a part of the budget proposal. And that really puts the city at a great disadvantage at this particular moment. We need to be increasing recycling. We need to be actively outdoing it for a whole variety of reasons. And one of them is the sort of self-interested motivation of commercial clients who are paying way too much, disposing of trash, much of which can be recycled. We had big plans for a sustainability office. It was going to work with a lot of the local neighborhood groups. It was going to be actively out seeking grants and doing other aspects of green infrastructure planning. We're just going to have to regroup now and figure out how we do it. I'm not sure how we can address the recycling issue in the short term, having cut that position from the budget.
That position actually wasn't filled. It was put into the budget last year. Unfortunately, when the sustainability position was cut, because it was moved from the Public Works budget, Public Works to sustainability, the recycling coordinator was a totally different focus last year, but the whole focus is through Public Works as far as getting people to recycle is just to do the behaviors that you're supposed to be doing in the first place. Now, as far as getting the grants and things, we have a qualified public works director, and those grants and the behaviors that the city are supposed to be doing should be coming through the public works department. And those positions, now that the receiver's leaving, leaves the mayor back open to open it up and see if there's any positions going forward that he's going to be able to add back to the budget. The recycling coordinator was a position that I seriously worked for last year, unfortunately, because the way it was lump sum and with the sustainability position, it took a hit. However, being in Harrisburg, we do have the Department of Environmental Protection. We do have an Environmental Advisory Committee. So we do have other organizations that are here in the city that are shovel-ready to go and are looking for the support of this community and support from the city to move forward on a lot of various environmental projects.
Okay, I've gotten the prompt from the side here, so we've got a shot at one more question on the way out the door. Mr. Boyd, why don't you have at it?
Good evening. My name is Mr. Boyd, and I'm an advocate for the city of Harrisburg concerning homeless. I appreciate this administration caring so much about dogs. I commend you. I live among people that are freezing to death when it goes between 20 and 18 degrees. So I find when I see the city that I'm born in, the ones that are supposed to be leading our city in a positive vein, to stand or to sit here and laugh like it is a joke. I asked my great city once again, I asked the mayor of just 4 years ago, what will she do for the poor and the homeless of the city she was born in? And I'm asking this administration, the ones that were born in our great city, and I can look in your eyes, and I'm going to ask you once again, what will you do for them? Only I have this, and I'm going to leave here. We talk about crime in our great city. I keep saying the same thing over. You can spend $100,000. You can spend $1 million. But if you do not have the support of the people, it doesn't matter what you spend. I keep reminding you, if you want to find out something, if you want to really beat this, Dauphin County Prison, go there. Or really get underground where you need to be. $69,000, $100,000, spend it more constructively. Thank you.
Thanks. Who'd like to take a first crack at that?
I definitely want to take a crack of it. Certainly being the former homeless coordinator for the Harrisburg School District for many years, I know that we do have several homeless shelters in the city that provide services primarily to women and children. That's our weakness. We have shelters for women and children. The part that suffers the most are the shelters for men. We need to do better with that, but we do have primary shelter, Bethesda Mission, and then there's the Safe Haven down off of Cameron Street. one of the things that we try to let people understand is the city doesn't get a lot of money for homeless shelters. Mr. Boyd, we really want you to advocate more on a state level. We get limited funds, our money is trickled down, and we have so many different projects, and for you to think that this city, especially me on this council and my colleagues, don't have a heart and passion for the homeless, it really saddens me. I understand your passion for advocating for the homeless, but we definitely do need to do better on a state level in terms of funding. We get our money through the CBDG funding, and it's very limited money. We have so many different groups that come to us for the money, so I'd like to talk to you at another time about that, but I think that we do the best that we can with the money that we get, and your strongest advocate, your voice would be at the state level.
I just want to add that on freezer nights like this, all patrol officers, they pick up the homeless, they take them to shelters, be it churches, Bethesda Mission. Most officers, they will buy food for the homeless people, they'll buy them hot meals, give them money. We do not leave anybody outside in the freezing cold if we see them. We will not do it.
All right, we need to go to our closing statements now. We're just about out of time. So I'd like to ask our panelists, if you have a closing statement to make, a firm 60 seconds. Poetry.
Well, I'll start. As you all know, my name is Eugenia Smith. I'm serving my first year of my second term for Harrisburg City Council. And I believe I got reelected because people know that I have a passion for the residents in this community. I was born in Harrisburg, raised in Harrisburg. My children were born and raised in Harrisburg. And certainly, I think that we have definitely demonstrated on this council that we are for the people. And certainly, whatever we can do to make things better in Harrisburg, we're willing to look at that. And I just asked you to work with us as we transition to this new administration. I think we're making some positive changes. Are we going to have some growing pains? Yes, we are, but I think we have a group of administrators that has a good ear and they're willing to listen, and I think that that's a good way to move forward.
Thank you. I would just say, look around, be inspired as I am. This atrium is fully living up to its originally conceived purpose, which was to be your building, a place where the community could gather and ask questions of its elected officials. This is great to see. I thank Penn Live for facilitating this. I hope this will be the start of a regular series of town halls here. In addition to that, you see the lobby changing in other ways. We have new exhibits. We have a youth gallery over there. We've got a variety of positive, energetic things happening in this atrium. So this is your building. Come in, feel welcomed here. The metal detectors are gone. There's now a help desk. Come experience City Hall. And in addition to that, I'll say I think we've accomplished quite a lot in a short period of time. Most importantly, I think we brought closure to the firefighters' contract. I think that can't be underestimated in terms of what an accomplishment that has been. That was a process that was ongoing for many years that seemed to have no closure and could have single-handedly torpedoed the budget and put us in a deficit for this year. And we worked through that, and we've continued to work through that because there is a collective desire, I think, on the part of everyone for this city to seize the moment, to come together and to work together to be great again.
I want to thank you all for having faith in us. I want to thank the mayor and his staff for having faith in me to lead this here city. The police force, we cannot do our job without you people, without the public, without having your trust, without having the understanding, without getting your phone calls, because you see things that we don't quite see. You will see changes out there. You will see Harrisburg coming back on the rise. I want to bring the population back here to over 60,000. I don't want to see any more blighted properties. I want to see neighbors knowing neighbors, walking down the streets, you know, talking to each other. I want to see kids being kids. You know, it's unfortunate that Harrisburg is ranked 20th as far as one of the worst cities to live in. We're going to fix that. We're going to change that, but we can only change it with the help of the public. So please, call us, blow our phones up if you see something, and report it. We will act on it. You will see the officers out there acting on it. I love what the mayor's doing. I love the responsibility that he tasked us with. I have the FBI, CIA, Secret Service, everybody. We done formed a partnership. You're going to see changes here. We're going to get guns off the street. You're going to see that people out there toting guns, they're going to be getting stiffer sentences. You're going to see that DA Marsico, they're going to be laying out bigger fines so that they can't make bail. We're tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of all these here homicides, all these here shootings, shots fired. It's time to say Harrisburg is tired of it. We had enough, and this is going to be the change. I want to thank Chief Martin. I want to thank the partnership that we made with Susquehanna Township, with Swadara Township, Deary Township, Lower Paxton Township. All the police chiefs, we're all talking now. What happens in Harrisburg happens everywhere else. So we all formed a partnership. We're all working together as one. DA Marsico, he promised us 5 more cameras. The HUD administrators, they promised us some more cameras in the projects. The HUD administrators want to have a police force out there in the projects. You're going to see a lot of great things happening here. You're going to see a lot of changes. And you're going to see a lot of interaction with the police and the general public. Please, if anything is bothering you, if you see anything, just please let us know. I promise you it'll be acted upon. I want to thank my captain, Captain Cleary, for being here, standing back there. I want to thank Captain Oates, who's hiding in her civilian clothes. They're excellent captains, they're excellent leaders. Well, we are all working together as a team. Your problems, there are problems. And we want real answers and real solutions to them. I thank you for being here tonight. I hope that you're at Hackman. We have our next public safety forum. Anything that you need, just call the county. The number is 558-6900, and the police will be there. I thank you.
Topic that didn't come up, I was surprised. I just want to touch on that real quick. Tree removal. I know with this inclement weather, some of them trees is going to start falling again, branches, hangers and everything like that. But just to let you know, the only way that the city is responsible for the tree is if it falls in the street or if it's leaning on a house, becomes unsafe for the residents, then we will remove the tree at the city expense. But when we do cut the tree up, all we do is put it on your property. We don't remove it, okay? A lot of times you be thinking that we remove it. It's your responsibility to remove it. Like if you do see something that's unsafe, like a hanger in the tree, please call us. Don't hesitate to call us. We would remove that right away. So again, we always experience this every year about tree removal. Again, I experienced something last year, which I don't want to experience again. If you have an association, please call me and let me know about trees, okay? I don't want to say what the situation was at, but lady was about 80 years old. She wanted her tree removed, and it was dead. It was actually dead, but again, the association kind of like, you know, do what they do, but if they were to coordinate that with me, we could have resolved that in a different manner. But again, I'm here to serve you. Public Works is short in staff. We do the best we can do with what we have, and we're not afraid of work, you know. So when we talk about plowing these streets, there's a reason. If I didn't get your street, there's a reason why I didn't get it. But at times, we are short of staff. So just give me a phone call. Same thing with sanitation. I go in the morning, you don't know how many people might call off, and then right from there, we pull from Public Works, we actually pull from highway. When you pull from highway, that means that somebody's not getting plowed. So there's different things that's going on behind the scenes why we can't get to you. Parking enforcement, if I know that we're not gonna get to your street, trust me, I call upstairs and tell them, don't give out any tickets because we're not going to be there. So, but if you do get a ticket and you feel as though that, you know, you didn't see us or whatever, it's just a phone call. You know, we're not here to try to, you know, take your money or anything like that. You know, we are actually here to serve you. Again, thank you for, it's a nice crowd, everybody coming out, and again, appreciate you coming out, and we're here to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you. I just would like to thank PCN and all of the media that came out and all of the people that came out, because this important conversation is very important. I want to thank my colleague and our panelists because coming together is very important. Tonight, we learned a lot about different problems. We talked about a lot of different problems in the city and how we're going to address them and go forward and at least get an idea as to what the public's thinking as far as some of the problems. I know that our Quality of Life Department, which is the department which I chair, which is the Public Works Department, I like to call it the Quality of Life Department because they do. They effectively change your quality of life. They pick up your trash, they plow your streets, they fix your street lights, they fix your anything that's going on. They're going to be the ones to contact. But tonight we were able to touch base and talk about trash, crime, blight, parking, dogs, storm drains, street lights, police, fire, codes, potholes, diversity, tree removal, tickets. So there's a lot of conversation that needs to be had, and hopefully going forward when we have our council meetings and different public forums, we get more and more people. A lot of times we see the same faces. If you can bring your neighbors out to these meetings, it's very important that we all come together, because without having these conversations and without us all working together, Harrisburg's not going to move forward as quickly as we would like it to do. Thank you.
We give a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you all so much for coming. I urge you to stay involved. We'll be having more of these forums throughout the year. If you see something you want to talk about, tweet it to #HBGNext or email us at hbgnext@pennlive.com. Thank you and have a very nice night.